Hi guys, what's up? Justin again, and we are driving to put some Swaybar links on the GTI, but I have to show you guys the sunset because holy crap, it is absolutely gorgeous. So we're gonna get to the garage. I'm gonna show you guys what we're putting on, talk about them, show you guys how to install them, tune them, and let's get going. We are back with another video today, and today we're going to be installing adjustable Swaybar end links on my MK8 GTI. Now, I got these from ECSTuning. There are many different other makes, manufacturers, models of these. These ones feature a hex head on the end of the bolt to counter hold it while you tighten and loosen the nut. The stock ones and a couple other makers have either a triple square, a hex, a Torx bit in the shaft, just depends on how they're made. And then, obviously, the body of the end link, as you see here, twists, and you can lengthen and shorten your end link. Now, why would you want these? In my case, I've lowered my car. I'm on H&R springs, so I have altered my suspension geometry. You could get a new Swaybar. You can actually benefit from these bone stock as well, but when you do that, you are inducing preload. Now, what your Swaybar is, the simplest way to describe it is a bar. It's a torsion bar. It acts almost like a second spring to the car when you are turning. It actually helps stabilize the car and minimize body roll. However, when you induce preload, and some people actually want to run preload for different applications. Some people, most, want to remove it completely. You are actually turning your Swaybar into a second spring on the car. Your suspension should be at rest when you are driving, and then when you turn, the Swaybar is counteracting, because it's twisting, the forces when your car leans to help try to keep it centered in the road. When you have preload and you are preloading the tension on your Swaybar and you go to turn, it is now a second spring, and you can actually induce oversteer or understeer more for your vehicle. So most people, myself included, turn to adjustable Swaybar end links to fine-tune their Swaybars, stock or not, to remove preload, in some cases add it depending on your application. But in this video, I'm adding these to remove it. So I'm going to take you through installing them, show you the Swaybar, compare it to the stock links, and let's get going. Obviously, step one with any job like this, you have to get the car in the air, take your wheel off. Now, when you are messing with the Swaybar or the end link, you need to lift the car axle at a time. So I have the entire front axle, both wheels, up in the air. You want no force on your suspension, otherwise it will be very difficult to get this bar out of the car. Now, I already did go through and loosened my Swaybar end link. This is an 18mm nut, and on the OEM links, if you can see in there, they use a triple square so that when you are removing the nut, you can hold the shaft in place. Otherwise, it can actually free spin. So on the stock link, you can see, at least on my vehicle, it is attached to the strut, and it is a fixed length metal bar. Some cars use plastic, some metal. They may attach in different places, but the concept remains the same. The Swaybar is down here, which is attached, you can see in there, to the body of the vehicle. What happens is when you're driving, of course, inertia makes your car want to lean outwards of where you're turning. The stabilizer bar, anti-roll bar, Swaybar, whatever you want to call it, fights those forces. It tries to keep the car level via this link. When the suspension compresses, the control arm moves up. This link, of course, at a fixed point, will move down, press on the Swaybar, ergo, less body roll. In my case, I have lowered my vehicle. I've changed my suspension geometry. The control arm now, instead of being angled down, is more angled up. Doesn't seem like that's a big deal. I have put preload on my Swaybar because this is a fixed length rod for, obviously, stock ride height. Now when I'm driving straight down the road, this bar is already under tension. So when I take a turn, you can actually feel it. You can induce, depending on your setup, more oversteer or more understeer. That is where an adjustable end link comes in. So as you can see, it would attach to the bottom. It's quite a deal shorter than the stock rod. What you do is first you need to match the length of the stock end link, install it one side at a time. As you can see, when you twist this, you can actually change the height, or length I should say, of your link. So when you get one installed, you go to the other side, you get it installed, do not tighten it. You then have to lower the car to its ride height. In my case, I will be lowering it on some ramps, and then you can actually twist, fine-tune, tighten it down to remove all the preload from your sway bar. So I'm going to get this bar out, I'm going to show you the difference between the two, match them up, get the new one installed, and let's get going. Here's the two sway bars side by side. Of course, you have the stock up top, the adjustable one from ECS on the bottom. Couple differences between the two, as I had mentioned before. As you can see there is a triple square to hold this shaft in place when you remove this nut. On these ones from ECS, move the washers out of the way, you can see that actually on the body of the bolt is a hex head to hold it. That's just how they designed these ones. I've seen ones from other manufacturers that either do the same thing, have a hex, a star, triple square, whatever to hold it. Just depends on how they're made. Now this is where I said when you put the sway bar on, the other side is out as well. So there's no load on the sway bar. You match the length to the stock bar. This will then get installed, tighten down everything, and then you go to the other side. You will still match the length. However, once you have this side installed, of course the other side of the sway bar will be higher or lower. You then put the car at its ride height. You can tighten down the link, match it up, get it into the sway bar with no load on the system. Now one thing to keep in mind with this, like I said, this is how you fine-tune your sway bar and your suspension. I've seen people do this, and I can't say I'm a fan with it. The whole reason for installing these is to fine-tune your suspension. Whether you are a spirited driver or a track driver, whatever, two things to keep in mind. One, you usually have a full or close to a full tank in the car. In this case, if you're going on the track, you're not going on the track empty. Two, most important, you are actually driving your car. You have weight. So if you are putting these on the car, yes, you lowered it to stock height, or I should say your normal ride height, whether you are lowered or stock, and you're tightening them down, removing all your preload, blah, 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 but you have no counterweight in the car, you're going to sit down, guess what? You have now changed the height of this bar without knowing it because you have compressed your suspension even more. So, one thing I did, I have a full tank of gas, and I have some weight in the car that is as close as I could get to my body weight. That way when I lower this and the car sits at its riding height, it is how it will be when I am driving it. So I'm going to get this in. I'll show you the other side as well. We're going to get the car on the ramps and get the front tightened down, move to the back. Passenger side is in. The driver's side, as I had mentioned, you want to keep loose so that you can lower the car on ramps with the wheels on it, put the suspension at ride height, and fine-tune and adjust this link so that it fits in that hole without needing to pull down on the bar. Now one thing to note, and I'm sure they are the same on my GTI, this is your level sensor. Yes, it's down here, the link's up here. Don't be a buffoon and just start swinging stuff and hit this. They're not cheap, just be careful. One thing I will say, because also this is kind of a review, I was a little bit concerned with clearance getting that link on, not having some kind of hex, hold, starbit, Torx, triple square, whatever, on the end of the bolt. This actually proved to be really easy to install. Just stick a wrench on there and tighten it down. I actually really like that design. Not that I don't like the other one, I'm just saying that is actually a really good design. I do enjoy that. But as you can notice, this is still loose. And you can actually see, because again, this is matching the stock link. The other side is in and all tight. and you can already see that it's a touch too long with the car lifted up in the air. In order to make this fit, I would have to yank down on the bar. So it's going to be way longer once the suspension is actually at its height. So I'm going to put the wheels back on, we're going to put the car on the ramps, and adjust this, tighten everything down, and then move to the back. Alright, so now here's the next step. I put the wheel back on, the car is back on the ground. I have not yet adjusted this end link and attached it. I'll be putting it on these blocks. Found out that ramps are a little bit too tall for the smaller jack on the other side to get up there. But you need to actually let the suspension settle a little bit. So I'm literally just going to go drive it around for a little bit. Take it out of the driveway, maybe go up and down the road, come back, just let it settle. Get it back up in the air, we will adjust the end link, get it all hooked up, get it all tightened, and then move on to the back. Now that we've driven it just a little bit up, down the road, we've got it lowered down on the blocks. There is no upward force. I've got some weight in the car as well. Jack is only there for additional support. And we are now going to go under the car and get this link installed. So let's go. Alright, so now that we're up, I wanted to show you guys what I was talking about. So the link is loose, and if you look, there is no way for me to get this into the sway bar without pulling down on the sway bar. That's what you do not want to do. So what we're going to do is spin, wrong way, make sure that is straight. We are going to spin the body of the end link there until it is now in. It is now at the right height. I will go back through and tighten everything down. So, I took the wheel back off just so I could tighten everything down with this, make sure the jam nuts were tight, we're good to go. But now both sides are in. In this, I actually give you a good representation on the difference between the two. So as you can see, I mean, you got a whole, what would you say that is, inch? A whole inch shorter, which while that doesn't seem like much, keep in mind, one side is now lifted, so you're actually probably closer to an inch or two once it's actually lowered onto the ground. That makes a big difference with your sway bar. So now we've got the front suspension fine-tuned. I'm just going to tighten all this up, torque the wheels down, move on to the back, and then get going. Alright, so now we are on the rear. Back here is the rear sway bar. So you can see, same as the front, it attaches to the body of the car, except now it comes down, you have a much smaller link that is actually attached to the control arm. So, just like before, we're going to get this off, replace this link, and get her adjusted and get going. So I'm going to get this link out, we'll compare the two, and if you notice, this one's actually plastic. The one that we are putting in is solid metal. Or I should say all metal, obviously not solid, it'll have a flexible joint on the end. But I will get this out, we'll compare the two, and get going. Same, just like the front. You can put a triple square to hold it, take the nut off, and you can zip this nut out, so I'll be right back. So now that you have this nut out, the other thing you need to do in order to get this out is you have to remove this bottom shield. Now it's held on with just little 10 mil bolts in the bottom, but then if you can see right there, there are also push tabs, and they're very easy to get out. You just have to pull the little tab and then actually pop up on the retainer. A little pry tool or a flathead screwdriver works great for this, because once you get them out, like so, you can remove this guard, because this guard is actually blocking this bolt from coming out. So let me get the guard off, I'll show you what we're looking like. Alright, and now I've got both of the rear links out. I have this one tightened down, to match the original link. This one's going to go in, and then we are going to get the other one in, lower the car back down on the blocks, and then get both of these adjusted and tightened down. Now the other side, like I had mentioned here, I was actually able to do with the wheel on the car. I only took this wheel off just so I could get the camera in there, but really this is not difficult for the rear. There's enough room on the Swaybar to where you can actually do everything underneath the car with the wheels on it. So definitely way easier than the front. But let's get this on and continue. Alright, so now that we are back on the blocks for the rear, these rear ones are super easy. All you gotta do, spin the head until it lines up. And once it lines up, angle that just right. With minimal effort. Spin the jam nut down. And then we are good to tighten her down. And we know that, once again, there's no load on the Swaybar. So once we get it tightened down, we're going to get it off the blocks, torque down all of the wheels, and then finally go drive it with these new adjustable Swaybar end links and see how we like it. Alright, there you go. Installed the adjustable Swaybar end links on the GTI. We're going to go and take it for a rip, see how we like it. What'd you think of the video? This is the first one I've done that I've actually kind of gone through actually installing something on the car. Did I do good? Should I go more in depth with the next one? Should I do more of these? Let me know. If you did like it, I am planning to be doing more videos, car shows, my car, everything else. Give me a like, give me a subscribe. We'll be filling up the channel. In the meantime, stay safe and we'll see you next time.